and I think this applies a lot to entrepreneurs, where are the people who you're listening to, are they on your team or not? Because if they're not on your
Mm,
team, maybe we don't listen to them, and that would be like a
yeah.
heart center question. And then head center questions would be if I'm overly head centered, there are things that I can learn from my heart and gut that I can't learn from numbers and facts and statistics.
Okay. Becca just commented on my background. We've got the woody, dark, and we're going to say important shit here. There we go. There's my intro. I just did it because I think that's what we're going to do. I'm Bradley Charbonneau. I'm with Becca Syme today, and I'm thrilled to be talking to you, Becca. And we just a super, super brief. Our connection came from, because we're going to talk about this stuff today. Our connection, our real connection came from Dublin, Ireland, where this is where we first met in person, at least. And we had this just sort of irreplaceable, non-copyable again, uncreatable day, which we couldn't create and we can't recreate. And that in person, I want to get into that today. This, what did we do? We had in person, we had connection, we had smaller group, and we had fun, and it was all very like serendipitous and spur of the moment and beautiful like that. So Becca, so I'm going to let you introduce yourself because you have like so many hats and titles that I can't even keep up with them. And I have way too many things I want to talk about today. But I also really want to talk about your Kickstarter, of course, because that's kind of your thing at the moment. So welcome, Becca. Nice to have you.
Yeah, thanks for having me. My joke about myself is that I sort of claim to fame in the domain that I'm in is that my original book was Dear Writer, You Need to Quit. So I became the quit coach. So my specialty is in knowing what to quit, when to quit, why to quit, sort of how to be good at quitting, which is kind of a weird
Wow.
thing to be good at because I think quitting gets this nomenclature of like badness, like, oh, don't quit, don't quit. But I'm like,
Yeah.
no, 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 quit things, like quit stuff that's not good for you. And especially quit things that aren't working or aren't helping. Like, so let's get those out of the way very quickly. And I got into this place because I had been coaching like a high volume originally of nonprofit people, business
Oh,
people, and education people originally. And then I started writing novels. And so naturally
wow.
started kind of sharing the things that I had learned in those spaces with the people that I was like they were my colleagues at first. And
Ah,
they would ask me questions like, well, somebody told me I should be doing this. And I'm like, oh no, don't, like, you should not be doing this. But they had never run a business before. They were not entrepreneurs, like they were really writers. And so they had a lot of questions about kind of how to organize things in their professional and business life. And because my background, I'm a Gallup certified Clifton Strengths coach. I had been doing consulting, especially with nonprofits, like turnarounds. Like, how do we take this business that isn't working great or this nonprofit that isn't working great, and how do we kind of streamline it, make it more effective, make communications more effective, et
right.
cetera. And then I worked in the nonprofit arena myself, and I was a nonprofit executive
Ah,
director at 24. So, like, I have this kind of background of I care a lot about seeing us be effective, like do only the things that bring us the rewards or the responses, which is how I got into Clifton Strengths, and then
okay.
got kind of obsessed with how people are successful, and
Uh-huh.
why they are successful at different things. And that's kind of how I landed in the place that I am now, helping authors know what to quit, what to keep, and what to question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, this whole I like that you gave it a little caveat like quit has a bad rap, like, oh, you're a quitter and oh, you gave up or there's so I'm kind of an English nerd and like there's like give up and give in and there's tiny little word difference in there and they're so different. But when you say quit, because so my recent series is called Now What? And
Hmm.
it's about big changes and we were just talking about our mutual friend Janet, right? And how she went from
Huge change.
yes, she went huge change. She went from the Pacific Northwest, sold her house, moving out of the US and goes to Mexico City. And for me, we're talking about decision making and stuff and what to quit. And so in a weird way, also like in French, I think is it quitter? Is it, and it's to leave, like to quit is to leave something and to use that same verb. And so
Yeah.
you leave behind, but that doesn't mean like I'm some very visual person and I sort of see things. So I can see Janet with her, I don't know, you could say baggage, which has all kinds of connotations, right? She's got her baggage. And and does she have to leave stuff behind? Does she have to quitter? Does she have to leave some things behind to sort of arrive in that new place, sort of as that new person? So I love that you use this whole quit, and it's my French influence where I get to this leave behind element. But I it's one of those things that's just so, I was going to say obvious, but clearly if it's obvious, then I would have thought of it. We all would have thought of it because I think, oh, the next new thing, I kind of think I'm going to add on to the existing
Right.
existence, and I'm going to add this new thing. Now we're adding Mexico City, but we just added Mexico. Well, you can't have Mexico City and Pacific Northwest. I mean, I guess you could live in both places, or whatever, but it's kind of, you're just, I can, and again, visual me, I'm like, I seeing a mountain of luggage, and you're saying quit. So you're saying, uh, and how do you define quit? How do
Yeah.
you quit?
Yeah.
How
For
do you decide
me,
what to quit?
I actually like the quitte, like the French word in the
Yeah.
terms of like to leave. To me, quitting is not a giving up, right? It's not a
Uh-huh.
oh, I can't do this. This is it's like no, you've taken on too much. Especially in
Okay.
the
Okay.
world that we live in, we get assaulted with so many things that we should be quote unquote should be doing and when people are told something, they're often told it with a lot of certainty, right? Like you watch a podcast and someone says, well, you should be using the Pomodoro method. And they're
Uh-huh.
so certain that you feel like you have to listen to them because you believe, and you don't understand that you do this, but you believe that certainty and correctness are a relative
Um,
scale that go up when each other increase, right? So, like, if you are very certain, clearly you must be very correct also. That's what we biologically want to be true. So
yeah.
if I hear you say something to me with certainty, my response is like, oh, what's my certainty level like about that thing? If I have
Yeah.
not heard of the Pomodoro and everybody talks about it and it feels like something that's really beneficial for other people, then I start to be in certainty correct equals correctness land, not realizing, and this is so important, not realizing that certainty and correctness have an inverse relationship to each other in the sense
Wow.
that you can be completely and totally certain and absolutely incorrect. Like you can be 100% certain and 100% incorrect. But the problem is, for me, I can be 100% correct and 100% uncertain. So I can be believing the correct thing about myself, having the intuition that is actually right about what I should be doing. But because my certainty is low and lower specifically than someone else's certainty, I now believe that I'm doing it wrong or that I must be thinking incorrectly about it because somebody else is so certain. But it's primarily because our biology doesn't allow for the difference between the certainty and correctness scale the way it actually exists. Our
Yeah.
biology would be much more comfortable if certainty and correctness increased with each
Yeah.
other.
Yeah.
So we get into this space where we listen to content or we
Mhm.
read books or we take workshops and somebody says they give us statistics. They say we I have this thing in my practice where we say don't make brown-haired Daniel babies out of things
Uh-huh.
because when you make a brown-haired Daniel baby, somebody tells you that Daniel is the most popular name among brown-haired babies. Something like 90% of Daniels have that are born have brown hair.
Right.
So I now have a brown-haired baby, and I'm like, okay, this statistic that I know says I should name my baby Daniel because my baby has brown hair.
Wow. Wow.
But I know that's not how baby naming works because I've seen thousands of babies named before. are. Yet when somebody tells you that you should be on TikTok, because 90% of the most successful influencers are on TikTok, you're like, oh, I better be on TikTok because these people are telling me
Yeah. Yeah.
statistics that have some kind of meaning. So essentially, we make brown haired Daniel babies out of things that we just don't understand enough about the context to know they're not true, but we ignore our own intuition about something, which might, by the way, be 100% correct, that you should just be quitting listening to this particular person because they're not aligned with you, but you don't know enough about certainty and correctness and their inverse relationship to be able to say no when you hear the certainty. And so, a lot of what I do in my practice and in my business, even just in my podcast, is trying to help people understand what's really going on underneath some of those systems so that you can hear, like, why might someone say this? If someone believes with a lot of certainty that you should go on TikTok, let's take an objective look at that success and see if that's really going to be replicatable for you. But people don't do that. They're just like, oh, so TikTok, okay, gotcha. Like certainty equals correct,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So we just don't know enough about our own biology to be able to say no to people who are very certain.
Okay, this is so coincidental that we're talking about this because when we met in Dublin, Ireland, which I keep talking
Yep.
about, that I remember a Sunday morning because I gave a talk and it was way too early for people, and I talked about decision making and I talked about mind, heart, and gut
Yep.
because I'm seeing very similarities in what you're saying because I had like the mind, the analytical guy. I even have like these characters. I've got
The
like this Dutch,
characters, I
yeah,
remember.
the
Yeah.
Dutch German guy who's very like analytical is like, we must do it this way because this is what the rule book says, right? And then there's like the French
The
heart,
French heart guy.
yeah,
Yeah.
and so that's all passion and love. And then there's the
Henri.
gut, yeah, yes, wow, remember. And then there's
Mark,
the
Marcus,
yeah,
or no. And
uh,
Henri was the French guy.
yeah,
Yeah.
Henri, and then the gut is go like
Yes, go.
G-O, because
Geau.
he think oh my wow, you're such a good memory.
Yeah.
Because he wants to call himself Go like G-O because he's sort of like a California surfer dude. But the influence, and here's again the influence between the three, among the three. But the French guy says, no, that's way too, simple. Go, we're gonna spell it G-E-A-U. And so who listens to who? Because what if correctness guy Martin, that was his name, Martin.
Oh
Because
yeah,
I
yeah,
did M, I
Martine.
did the very much into alliteration.
Mhm.
So M for mind and Martin. And so let's say he's got all the statistics and all the numbers, and he said, okay, I'm talking about the same topics again. And he says, we should not move to Mexico. That makes no sense. We should stay in the Pacific Northwest because this is where we're from, and all that other stuff is too much change and craziness. And what are you doing? And then the heart says, but I love Mac. I want to try it. It's adventurous. Let's who knows what kind of excitement and fun there might be. And then goes like in the line buying a ticket, right? Because
Yeah.
he takes action. And so with your correct, there's the certainty and the correct. Like how because I have these guys like arguing,
Hmm.
and how do you then it's like herd the cats?
Yes.
How do you balance your own, like you were like talking in graphs? How do you
Hmm.
balance it to make the decision?
So sometimes the answer is that each person is a little bit different in which of those three, like to use the Enneagram, for instance, has three centers with
Hmm.
the head center, the heart center, and the gut center, and very similar kind of methodology, right? So when we use Enneagram, which we use both strengths and Enneagram in the
Yeah,
BFA,
yeah.
but when we talk about that, it's everybody has one of those three that is more active than the others,
Ah, okay.
right? So if you understand about yourself, like I'm always go, I'm always acting. And so
Yeah,
I need to probably stop and listen a little bit more to the
yeah.
people who are giving me some intelligence and statistics and figures, or I'm willing to pay the consequences of what happens when I listen to my gut all the time. And if I know I'm a heart center person where I'm always being very influenced by how everyone feels and the impact on everybody, then I may want to slow down and wonder if Is there some old coding that's going on here that's making me be overly influenced by other people? Are the people
Mm,
that I'm worried about, do they have my best interest at heart, right? We talk, and I think this applies a lot to entrepreneurs, where are the people who you're listening to, are they on your team or not? Because if they're not on your
mm,
team, maybe we don't listen to them, and that would be like a
yeah.
heart center question. And then head center questions would be if I'm overly head centered, there are things that I can learn from my heart and gut that I can't learn from numbers and facts and statistics.
Okay. Yeah.
And that
Yeah.
is just the fact that all statistics can be manipulated, right? Like the brown haired Daniel babies is one example.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I could use that 90%. Daniel is the number one name, has the highest percentage of brown hair like namesakes. And I
Right.
could use that as a way to try to convince a whole bunch of people that they should name their brown haired babies Daniel.
Hmm.
And it would be a bad thing for me to do because that's not what those statistics are made for. Those statistics are descriptive and not prescriptive. So it is just a description of
Oh,
the state of
interesting.
the world. It is not a prescription for happiness or
Yeah.
success. And too many people who are head-centered don't understand that that's the purpose of most statistics. Most statistics are just describing the state of life. They're not actually prescribing the way that we should be acting. But if you
Hmm.
don't listen more to your heart and your gut, then you are not like you're out of balance in one of those spaces. So I think the goal is to know yourself. That's always my first
Hmm.
step. Do
Yeah.
you know where you tend to be more out of balance in that way? And do you know where you might have a special gift? Like there are people who are extremely gifted in one of those three centers, and then they should be leaning into it because the more they lean into it, the more it refines itself in how they make decisions. And the more that head center becomes more wise, and the more the heart
Yeah.
center
Yeah.
becomes more smart, and the way the gut center becomes more intelligent, right? So yeah, knowing yourself, I think, is the first step.
Okay. So I'm with you on the go, on the gut. I'm also
Yeah.
this. Let's just do it. Let's just go. Take
Yes. Your
number one
activator.
act.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
was
Number
gonna
one
say you're
activator.
number one activator.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like let's just go. Let's just do it and we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Right. Let's just go to Mexico and we'll figure it out later.
Yep.
So how so you say know thyself.
Yep.
And okay, so let's say I know my gut is the main decision maker, but what if my gut gets me in trouble sometimes? Like it's like,
Yeah.
oh man, I moved to Mexico and like I don't have a job. I didn't even look at the visa situation. I need to get a visa, whatever. I didn't
Yeah.
listen to the head as much. So if you know yourself, do you learn then, okay, go, calm down. I know you really want to go to Mexico, but we need to listen to the rationale element here. So is that just part of knowing yourself, is knowing sort of who makes the
Yeah.
decisions
Who
and
makes the
hey, this time
decisions?
chill out.
Hmm. Yeah, it's understanding the wisdom of perspective. So when you understand more about yourself, so like just let's take activator as an example of that like
Okay.
gut level, right? Body level action decision making. So when you are driven highly by that, one of the upsides is you're also usually better at dealing with whatever the fallout is, right? So you have this like desire to
I
push
see.
yourself
I see.
hard, but you
Okay.
also have increased your skills a lot in failing, in being
Hmm.
willing to take a chance on things, and
Yes.
being risk averse does not mean that you are always smarter. Sometimes people who are very risky can be smarter because have learned from a lot of failure in the past, and they know what's a
Uh,
real risk and what isn't, right? So you have assets as that number one activator that could make you really intelligent about when to listen automatically and when to sort of check and stop and say, hang on a second, is this really what we are willing to pay the consequences of? So the move is a great example, or starting a
yeah.
business, or
Yeah.
doing a brand new like supply chain or something in the current business that you have is a great example where it might be really fun and exciting to take the step and make the change, but are you willing to pay the consequences of what
Yeah.
happens if you're
Yeah.
wrong? And it's
Yeah.
not a bad thing to ask that question, because if the answer is yes, you're still going to do it. And if the answer is no, like, no, it would be better for me. Like, I'm having, let's say I'm growing my YouTube channel and I
Yeah.
just hit 100,000 people on my YouTube channel.
You know,
I'm not even,
hypothetical.
I'm not even making this up. It's just hypothetical. But let's say that I did that and then I wake up tomorrow as a number one activator and I hear about this new video platform that is brand new and is super
Yeah.
cool. And as an
Yeah.
activator, my very easiest thing is starting new
Starting.
things. It's
Yep.
hard for me to maintain momentum on
Yep.
something, especially the middle and the end of a project, right?
Yep.
So then I could do two things. Yep.
Yep.
This is how activators are.
Yeah.
Knowing yourself is really important.
Okay.
So if you're having a lot of success at something, and you're hitting the middle where it's now going to start to get really hard to continue, right? It's not going to be the fun activator part
Yeah.
anymore.
Yeah.
Could you start a brand new channel and get to a place where you are currently? Of course you could. Anything
Mm.
could happen. But if you have plans for this asset that you have built and you want to take advantage of it, it is worth pausing when you have that initial activation desire and saying, am I willing to deal with the consequences of losing this momentum that I have built?
Mm.
And is it possible that this is just my activator needing to do something different? And can I apply that same activator energy to this YouTube channel? Could I start a new series? Could I
I
bring
see.
on,
I see.
start a new format,
Yeah.
do
Yeah.
something
Yeah.
slightly different, reinvent myself? Could I ideate, and I know you have ideation as well, like could I ideate into something that's even more fun in what I'm currently doing? Or have I grown too big enough? Like, is this big enough for
Hmm.
me to just let rest now? And I really do need to start something new. And there is no correct answer, by the way.
Yeah.
For some people, the answer is, yeah, I'm going to start the new thing. And for some people, it's not. But I think it's worth understanding about yourself what the tendency of people who are wired like you is, so that you understand whether you should listen to that instinct or not. It's just a wisdom, right, about how to utilize your biggest gifts. Activator is amazing, but it can
Yeah.
also work against you.
Yeah.
Like
Absolutely.
in Clifton Strengths, our biggest strengths, they're ranked 1 to 34 of all the things that humans are great at. You have a top 5. Bradley's number 1 is activator. An activator can be an amazing gift. We say it can either power the city or it can blow it up, right? Like it's both directions. So, activator can help you start something incredible and give you a lot of momentum, but
Uh-huh.
it can also be frustrating in the middle and end. And we have a lot of activators who really struggle to kind of find that new beginning energy throughout the course of their whole career. And
Yeah.
they end up having to parse between, is it more important for me to feel engaged and interested and energized at all times? Or is it more important for me to take advantage of this thing that I built? And there is no correct answer.
Yeah.
Every single person's answer is different to that decision.
You know what was really fun? So I know I hit 100,000 last week, and
Yeah.
when I got the email, so exciting, and it's so funny that I mean, of course activators, of course this stuff, Becca. Damn it,
Yeah.
Becca. But
Yes.
right, so because one of my instincts was, okay, done, that was
Yes.
fun. Now what?
Yes.
Maybe I
Now
should bake
what?
croissants. That's what I should
Yeah.
do. I'm going to
Yeah.
start a croissant shop. That'd be a great idea. But
Yes.
however, so in the email from YouTube that says like, congratulations on your 100,000, they don't say, of course, like, bye bye, that was fun. You're done. Yay, see ya.
Yep.
No, they say, I'm like a little silver star. And then there's this golden, there's this platinum, then there's, I think it's even called like red platinum or something. And it's like 100,000, million, 10 million, 100 million. And
Yep.
so my little poor activator gut brain is like, ooh, new goal, new shiny goal, million, million, go after that.
Love
And
that.
so
I love
it,
that though.
yeah, that really helped me because
Yep.
part of me thought
Yep.
like, because I've been working at this, it's been like 8 years. It took me 6 years of not trying to get to 100 subscribers. Then it took me 1 year really trying to get to 1,000. That was the hardest. Then it took me one more year to get from 1,000 to 10,000. Then it took me one more year to get from 10,000 to 100,000. So
Yeah.
it's just it's
Yep.
really a hockey
Because you
stick.
narrow in on who you are really for. Like as
Yeah,
you get bigger and bigger and bigger, you narrow in on your avatar, right? So it makes
yeah,
you easier to show to new YouTube people.
yeah.
And what's really cool about that is with activators who are writers, we often say like don't focus on the 100,000 word novel. Focus
Uh-huh.
on 10 separate 10,000 word
Uh,
mini like
Interesting.
scenes, almost like an
Yeah,
episode, right? So
yeah,
you finish one that's really exciting and fun, and then you're like, what do I change to make it fun again? And then you make it fun
yeah,
again. And I
yeah.
think a lot of people, when they hit these pieces of their personality that are struggles for them, right? Like all activators struggle unless they have other personality traits that complement it. But most activators struggle with finishing because
Yeah.
they're really good at starting. And we call activator the ready, fire, aim strength,
Oh
right?
yeah,
So like they always are firing before they're
yeah.
aiming and they're really
If
excited
aiming
to
at all,
start.
why
If
bother
aiming
aiming?
at
Just
all,
fire more.
sometimes ready, fire, ready, fire, ready, fire, and
Yeah,
sometimes
yeah.
not even ready, just fire, you know? Yeah, especially for number one. But what's cool about that though,
I'm
yes,
sorry, but that's
I
so
know.
spot on.
You can
Forget
say
ready,
damn
forget
it,
aim.
Becca.
Just fire, 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 fire.
Yeah.
That's so good.
That's the most activator thing ever. What's funny is that so Bradley's number one, right? So it's your
Clearly,
biggest, best trait that you have. There
right.
are people in the world where activator is their 34. So it is the
Oh,
thing that
wow.
drains them the most. It's the hardest for them. They can't do beginnings. They don't like starting new things. They don't like moving. They don't like change. So, like, there are people, this is how diverse and wonderful and wide the world is. There are people who your biggest and best and most amazing trait is the thing that's the hardest for them to
Yeah,
reach for.
yes,
So
yes.
like you end up usually married to those people, by the way, which is,
Okay.
kind of just the fun of life. But what's interesting about it too is that we can learn some of that from each other. Like if I'm around a high
Mm,
activator,
yeah,
I can get really excited about starting things just from like an empathetic space because I'm listening to Bradley talk about starting and moving
right.
and catalyzing.
Yeah,
And that can make me get excited about it even if I don't have that trait.
yeah.
So like the
Wow.
traits are strong and they're gifts and they're incredible. And also like your activator is a gift to other people.
Yeah.
So
That's a
yeah.
wow. You actually just really helped me understand. I had I first had a program called How to Write Your Best Book Ever, but for nonfiction book authors, right? And it was terrible because we all were perfectionists and we never got it done. And we're gonna procrastinate until kingdom come. And it was a bomb. And then like jokey, funny stand-up improv guy over here, I'm like, okay, scrap that idea. I know what we're gonna do. We're gonna do how to write your worst book ever.
Yeah.
And it was a total like satire. And I'm honestly, I want you to actually write a terrible book. It's going to be super
Wow.
short. We're going to use like Comic Sans, font on the front, right? It's going to be the cover needs to be bad, like award-winning bad. And then I want you to have like Jack and Jill went up the hill and Jack left her, whatever, right? That's the whole story. And I really wanted you to finish because just like you're saying, activator start, 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 never finish. And so because I would have people in the program and they say, "Oh, Bradley, you got me. I understand what you're doing here, and you got me to start. Good for you. You won." I'm like, no, 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 we're not. You actually need to finish. Like you haven't finished your cover. You need a subtitle and you need an epilogue or whatever. And I would have them write these terrible books, and then finally at the end they'd be like, "Okay, now I really get it because I accomplished this thing." I finished this thing I started. It's terrible. And by the way, I had had some dialogue for them to help them. I said, okay, when you're at the cocktail party and someone says, "Oh, I heard you're writing a book. How how is your book?" And you say, "It's terrible." And they say, "What? Excuse me?" No, it's so bad. What do you mean your book's bad? Well, let me tell you. And then you have a dialogue right there. And the people they would tell me, they'd be like, "Oh my God, you've given me confidence to finish this thing And then not only, so when I've noticed your Golden Gate Bridge, right? So I lived 17 years in San Francisco, which is very close to Silicon Valley. The company I used to work for, we used to work with a lot of Silicon Valley startups. And Silicon Valley, their motto, or at least my motto for them, is fail fast, fail often.
Yep.
And I truly believe in it. And this must be activator in me. Go fail and then fail fast. Because if you're going to procrastinate and perfectionist on your failure, well, you're not going to finish it. Fail fast, fail often. So finish that failure, get over it, learn from the experience, because I also believe we're going to learn more from failure than from success. And so this
Yep.
worst book ever program, I had people, they came back to the program and I asked them, I said, I'm like, you've already been in a program. What do you mean you want to do it again? They're like, no, no, no. It's fun. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
oh. And I finished this thing and it's terrible. And we laugh a lot. And I joke
Yep.
with myself and I joke about failing and I learn. I thought, I'm like, yeah, I know. I do this every day. They're like, no, no, no. I'm sorry, mister, but not everybody does this every day. This is a big hurdle for me to overcome because I'm a perfectionist or because I'm a whatever or I'm a different with this or that. So
Yeah.
thank you for that because that really helps me understand and also helps me understand why a lot of people were not on board. Like
Yeah. They can't
worst
do
book
it.
ever. Are you kidding? I'm gonna
Hmm.
wait a minute. I'm gonna invest time, money, and energy into your stupid program where I'm gonna write this bad thing that I'm gonna throw in the garbage. What a total waste of time is that?
Yeah,
That
but
was
people
like the
don't
majority of people.
understand. Yeah, people don't understand how much we need to learn how to lower the stakes. Like
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
essentially what you were doing. And so when we're talking about quit, right? Like what are
yeah.
we quitting? You're teaching people how to quit raising the stakes on themselves because so often
Okay,
we
yeah, yeah,
end
yeah,
up
yeah.
raising the stakes so much that we can't do the thing. Like we have to make the perfect
Hmm.
video. We have to
Yes,
write the
yes.
perfect sentence, opening sentence. We have to do the perfect thing and there are places where, from a personality perspective, that can be beneficial for certain types of people, where they legitimately are here on earth to write perfect things and do perfect things.
Okay.
Like there are
Yeah,
people
yeah.
like that here, but it's not a high percentage of people. So, like most of us would be better served learning how to quit raising the stakes on ourselves, especially because, and this is like one of my like pet project things is
Hmm.
talking to people about their biology, especially because we don't realize that most of the reason we raise the stakes has nothing to do with what's actually going to happen. It has nothing to do with the reality of what you're perceiving in the future. You are not correctly guessing the future. You are not going to die if someone doesn't like your book or
Yeah,
nobody
yeah.
buys your product or you do a failed YouTube channel. Like you're not going to
Right,
die, but your
right.
body thinks you will. So it keeps raising the stakes of you releasing it or starting it or doing the thing. And what activators teach us, essentially what Bradley's program would teach you, is to say, stop raising the stakes on yourself and do the thing so you can show yourself you can do the thing and it's not dangerous to do the thing because you don't know that your body is subconsciously raising the stakes to the point where you think your whole
Yeah.
life is at
Yes,
stake
yes,
if you
yes,
fail
yes.
at this. And it's just not. That's an old tape. We need to talk back to it,
Yeah,
deprogram it, teach yourself that it's okay to do these things because you don't realize how much of your life is not under your control. Like it is being controlled by your
wow.
biology and you don't know it.
Yeah. Okay. I warned us, you, and I warned me, and I warned that we have way too much to talk about, Becca and I here.
Yeah.
And but one thing sort of apropos of the moment is your Kickstarter. And
Yeah,
so
yeah, yeah.
I feel that we could have an entire other conversation and talk about your Kickstarter. But I know we have like 10 minutes, and I would love to hear, I'm not kidding. I'd love to talk again soon about your
Please have
Kickstarter
me
in
back
more
anytime.
detail.
Yeah,
But
this would be
but
great.
let's just wrap this up because I think a lot of I mean I haven't done this unconsciously. I know we're talking about your Kickstarter, but I think the core of a lot of this quit is what the exactly the kind of stuff we're talking about today, which I
Yeah,
find, and also through storytelling and real stories and examples, we learn more deeply, what this topic is we're talking about. But also,
yeah,
could you explain? So I know you're doing a Kickstarter, and I know not everybody on the planet knows what a Kickstarter is. Can you kind
yeah.
of explain like what a Kickstarter is, and then what it is your Kickstarter? What is that, and what are you like?
Yeah,
What's that all about?
Kickstarter's like crowdfunding, like GoFundMe for projects that entrepreneurs do. And we at my company, we've done a couple of different Kickstarter projects in the past, which were card decks to help people. The first one was to help people get unstuck. The second one was to help people gamify their energy so they don't burn out. It was called the Energy Pennies deck. We did the stuck list first. And this time we're doing business phases. So, like phases of an author business. And by the way, even if you're not an author, this can help you because the business phases model is the same for every business, like author businesses,
Okay. Okay.
entrepreneurs, everyone. And it's essentially 5 phases that everyone goes through when they're building a business and understanding how to say no to things that are later business phase things, and then how to say no to things when you're in later phases that are early phase things. So knowing
Uh,
what the structure of the model that you're in, how systems and success work, and we made a card deck to individualize this for you so that you could get some more kind of like a in your pocket, you have a little Becca being like, don't forget, quit trying to build infrastructure in phase one. You're still in research
okay.
and development. The goal is
Yeah.
iteration, right, etc. Um, and it goes along with the book, right? Like there's a companion book to it to explain everything. And then I'm trying the thing like we were going to talk about these pop-up events,
Huh?
which is that I will organize a pop-up event wherever you tell me to. Like you can pay for the opportunity to pick where I will do a talk at. And any of you who are listening to this can pick this. Like I will go wherever in the continental US, or I think we're doing UK and Germany too as well, because I'm traveling to both of those places to speak for other things. And we'll organize with your calendar when I'm going to be there, and we'll make sure that you can make it, and you'll get to do dinner with me, like a coaching session, sort of. And then we will organize a pop-up event where you
Mhm.
are so that we can sort of, Becca comes to you. And I did this because we have been doing these in-person events with my community. We've got a big Patreon. I have a YouTube channel as well. We've been doing these in-person events with my community, and they have been the most transformational experiences that we have done because
In person, in real
in
life, right?
person in real
Okay.
life. Like
Okay. Yeah.
we just did 2 of them in Las Vegas last week, and we had like 50 people between the 2 events. And we get to do these smaller groups, so you get to really kind of dig into your strengths and understand yourself and how you make decisions. But it gives you a chance to both talk to other people who are in similar places to you,
Yeah.
and then also to dig into this idea of being really gifted at something, and what does it look like to be number one activator, number one input, number one
Yeah.
strategic, number one empathy, like what do all number one achiever, what do these things look like? And how do you put them to use for yourself? And I found that these in-person events are so dynamic and creative and interpersonal and connective
Mm.
that I really just can't stop doing them. So I'm like, I will do where, like, you tell me where to go and I'll go there, and I'll just
Yeah.
show up and we'll talk about strengths and decision making all day. And then we'll have some good food and call it a good day. So that's part of the Kickstarter as well. It's a top level, the pop-up event of the
Yeah.
Kickstarter. So
You know,
we've
I know
already
you talk.
funded. We've already
Okay.
funded.
Yay.
So yeah.
I know you talk a lot about energy and energy pennies. And
Hmm.
so, like, I could imagine that and tell me what you think, but these in-person smaller events, it's going to quote unquote cost you energy. Becca's like on stage or leading the show or part of the show or whatever. But then, at least in my experience, those events give me energy. I
Oh
have
yeah, yeah.
plus energy with the
Yep.
smaller groups, and it seems like I'm on stage and I'm building and I'm doing and I'm active, but my battery is just being it's like maxed out. It's in
Yep.
a positive, good way. And
Hmm.
so, wow, and you are
Same.
providing that. And so these people, are they this small group? I guess it's not necessarily people already in your Patreon or in your world. Doesn't
No,
have
it'd
to be.
be
It could be.
anybody. Yeah, I
Okay.
mean, it could be people, but it could be anybody. Like I had somebody who purchased one of the pop-ups who wants me to come and do. an event that she wants to open to the whole community. She lives in a particular community and
Oh, I
she's like,
see.
I want to just offer this to my whole community. So could it be
Ah,
not writer focused? And I'm like, of
oh,
course. I used to do consulting in nonprofits and education, in business. Like I'm happy to customize this for any group of people you want to.
yeah,
And I just love doing this kind of stuff. But I also get 100,000 energy pennies from these like
yeah,
in-person events specifically
yeah.
because there is something about this static information delivery system that we have on the computer that
Uh-huh.
just doesn't do justice
Yeah.
to the dynamic environment of our life.
Hmm. Hmm.
And what happens when I can be in person with people is, you're listening to this YouTube video, and as you're going along, I'm saying things. You're like, what is this? What's that? How does this? Well, I have a 25 activator. What does that mean? I have a 17 strategic. What does that mean? And when I'm in person, we can stop and we can talk about
Wow.
that, and you can get your questions answered and you can feel like a part of the experience. And then it helps you have a better experience with utilizing the tool, specifically with strength. So I find the in-person events to be a million times better. Than
Yeah,
anything I've ever done, even from stage. I would rather do a 25-person event than do 25,000 people in an arena because I just love that seeing everybody feel empowered and learn the tool and leave feeling like they could transform themselves afterwards because I think this tool is just so powerful and so
yeah.
dynamic.
But that's
Yeah.
amazing, like what you just said. Like if they're watching this thing, it's a monologue. And I'm like, oh, I have a question about that right there. Could we
Yep.
pause? No, we can't pause. It's a video. But if it's a smaller group
Yeah.
and you could say, hey, wait a minute, I'm 25 activator, and then pause because small group and you're there for them and say, well, let's discuss that right now. Like
Yep.
that's
And it
just
might help
amazing.
them to understand, like, why have I always struggled with this thing? And oh, I'm hearing about this thing that this particular so the one thing we haven't talked about that I think is important with understanding strengths is just
Uh-huh.
how big the difference is when you have something really high. So when Dr. Clifton was first doing the research, he did this experiment with speed readers where he took two groups of speed readers through the same class and neither had had any training before, but he grouped them together according to where their natural capacity was, right? If you could read 90 words a minute ish, you went into this group. If you could read significantly better than that, like 350 was the median in that group. So they
Okay.
already started out very different. One was average, one was already above average with no training. And they went through the same speed reading class, and the average group went from 90 to 150, which was a good change, but it kept them inside the average zone. The above average people went from 350 to 3,000 words a minute. Yeah, like the increase was so significant. And I wish if people could understand
No.
how much this plays a role in every minute of your life. Like when you are conflicting with someone, it's almost always I can look at your strengths and their strengths and be like, oh, yeah, you're a number one strategic and they're 27 strategic. So they don't understand what you're
Yeah.
saying.
Yeah.
Here's how to change your language so that they will now understand what you're saying because we just can't communicate with each other at
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
level. But those talents are so innate and so instinctive that it's almost like it feels like just common sense for us to act that way, but our common sense is not the same as everyone else's common sense. So we end up with this like, this doesn't compute for me, and it's because there's a translation error. So a lot of what I want to do with strengths is try to help people understand, like, no, this is already in you. This is a way in which you are supremely talented in a way that other people aren't. And then we are having all kinds of experiences in life
Yeah.
because of that difference. And then being able to talk to people in person helps that to land and gives them more tools. And anyway, I could clearly
Wow.
talk about this for like
Okay.
years, but
Okay.
yeah,
You just led me perfectly right there because you said I could
good.
clearly talk about this for years. Here's what I want
Yes,
to do
I will come back.
because we're out of time. Let's so one thing I found about YouTube recently that is super fun are polls or surveys, right? So
Ah,
I would love to do, and they work really well. So I want to do a quick poll, and either you can tell me right now if you have this a weird number four, but there's four ideas. Do you have four ideas? What we could do? that you and I talk about again. Like, I want to have Becca on again. And what would you, dear listener, like to hear from Becca? We could talk Clifton's drinks. We could
Yep.
talk quitting. We
Yep.
could talk, what else you got? What do you think?
We could talk about energy pennies and energy
Ooh,
management.
ooh, energy pennies, energy
We
management.
could talk about business decisions for entrepreneurs.
Ooh, okay. That's already
Okay,
four. That's already good.
that's
All right.
four.
Well, that's clearly, you know what I think we should do? I think we should just have four
All four
more.
of them.
All four of
I,
them.
I am happy to come back four times, Bradley. This was a
Okay.
blast.
This was awesome, Becca. It was
Yeah,
fantastic having you. Super fun. And except that you nailed me on my activator. I'm like,
I
what,
know.
ready, aim, fire? Nope, just fire.
Just fire.
I love it.
Just
I love
fire.
it. Just fire. Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks, Becca. This is great.
Yeah.
And we'll talk super
Thank
soon.
you.
And clearly we have more podcasts to do. So we'll see you soon. Bye.